Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured, why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description and every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say, I'm watching so-and-so show. And then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it. And that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 4 of Paramount Plus's 1923, entitled War in the Turquoise Tide. This is 2 consecutive episodes with war in the title, both featuring a build-up to a war and little to no progress toward actually starting this war. I said in the video for Episode 3 that it would be interesting to see what happens in Episode 4 and how it might impact my outlook on the season going forward, and on the season, what we've seen so far, whether this is halfway through, if it's an 8 episode, or a little bit short of halfway through, if it's a 10. And I gotta say, this episode bothered me because it made the same mistake that Rings of Power made with their pacing. It's setting up events, but dragging its feet with getting us there. And I stopped reviewing Rings of Power after it made this exact violation, which was whichever episode where it said, like, the episode ended with, all right, let's go to Numenor. And then I'm like, all right, cool, everybody's going to Numenor. And then the next episode starts, and the whole episode plays out, and it ends with, all right, let's go to Numenor. And I'm like, what the fuck? How we end 2 consecutive episodes in the exact same fucking place? Well, guess what? We ended 2 episodes in the exact same fucking place with this show as well. And like, that to me is kind of like a borderline unforgivable offense. Like, Rings of Power had a whole lot of other problems that made it kind of like, I don't even want to cover this shit no more. I still watched it, but I was kind of like, I'm not interested in covering this shit no more. This I like more than Rings of Power, so it's not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to cover this anymore. But the idea of, especially after episode 3, me saying like, I'm feeling like they're kind of dragging their feet. Like, are we gonna get this plot moving? And now after this episode, it feels like the showrunners or whoever it is that's behind how this show is crafted feels like you either have to inform on your characters and their relationships or move the plot forward. Like, you can't do both at the same time. Like, for instance, okay, so my biggest issue, like I mentioned with Rings of Power, was how they ended 2 consecutive episodes with like, all right, we're on our way to Numenor. This ended with, episode 3 ended with Spencer needs to come home. And then episode 4 ends with Spencer going, I need to come home. Like, we ended 2 episodes in the exact same fucking place. And if the payoff, I think, or if the cliffhanger before this break until February 5th is supposed to be that they're just finding out about what happened 3 months after the fact, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, that's not a big deal to me. They played that up like that's supposed to be like a big reveal, like a cliffhanger. And I'm like, to me, that's no excuse for ending 2 consecutive episodes in the same fucking place. Like, that is not cool with me. Like, and I don't think that that's something that you can kind of like wave away with like, oh, it's been, this was 3 months ago. That's not a huge gap. Especially when the whole episode, they talked about how long it might take for Spencer to get this letter, how long it might take for Spencer to get there. So he already set up how long of a time it is. So to be like, oh, it was 3 months ago, like some kind of big reveal, it wasn't that. So Yeah, like I said, this, I don't know, it's unacceptable to end in the same place, but it's extra unacceptable because as it pertains to the Spencer and Alex plotline, we spent the whole episode being given more examples of how much they like each other. And I was bitching about that in the last video. Like, I'm already tired of examples of how much Alex and Spencer like each other. Then this whole episode is like, hey, they're frolicking on the beach. They're fucking. They're eating food. They're fucking. They're doing this. I'm like, I don't care. Like, these two, this relationship is implausible to me. One of the two parties in this relationship is absolutely fucking obnoxious, but I get it. Like, I got it when he allowed her to come with him to go to wherever that was with the hyena at the end of episode 2, where they're like, oh, he's about to leave, she's about to get married. When he decided he was okay with her coming along, I was like, well, he must like her. I don't need 2 further episodes of relentless proof that these two like each other when I already don't like looking at their relationship in the first place. So, like, that was just to end up, that's how he ended up pedaling in place, was with that shit. Oh, man, like, this episode irked my fucking soul, man. I just think, too, and when I talk about, like, spinning the wheels spinning in place and how they're not really moving the plot forward, I think, and this is just me kind of, like, molding this together in my head right now, kind of just, like, figuring this out, but I think the problem here is that this show, more than, I mean, Yellowstone does it too, 1883 did it, but I think this show more than the other two is really focused on, I think what I would frame it as is setting the table. So what I mean is, like, I don't need them to completely and entirely get everything in order before you serve me the fucking food. Like, I don't need the whole table set. Like, you've made the food, I got a fork, let me fucking eat the food. Like, I don't need to wait for you to perfectly fold the napkins, light the candles, pour some wine, turn on the music. Like, that's what it feels like the show is doing with all of these, like, really long conversations that are meant to, like, these, like what I was saying about Spencer and Alex, like, consistently just hammering home the idea that these two like each other. Like, no shit. But, like, they keep, it's like they want to make sure, like, you have to understand how these two feel about each other. And it's like, you have these long conversations, you have these landscape shots that are beautiful. No mistake, no, like, don't confuse me with, like, complaining about the quality of these shots. But my point is that they're doing so much of this, like, mood setting, I think, and they're just not moving. And I'm like, I'm moving the plot. And I'm like, I'm ready to fucking eat, bro. Like, let's go. Like, I don't need any more setup. Like, I get it. Like, I get it. Let's move this plot forward. And this show seems, I think, a little bit too obsessed with setting the table. And I'm tired of fucking setting the table. I'm hungry. I'm ready to eat. Let's get this shit fucking moving. Like, this episode, I really don't feel like we had, I mean, we obviously had some plot progress, but, like, I mean, next to nothing as far as plot progress goes. Example, Tiona didn't even appear last week, and then all we get out of her this week is, again, same problem I have with the Spencer and Alex storyline, and I find the Tiana storyline completely interesting. Like, that I find that to be interesting, but still, I don't need the 8 millionth example of how shitty her circumstances are. That's very fucking clear. It was clear in the first fucking episode. And again, we get more examples of her being treated like shit. I'm like, I fucking get it. Let's move this forward. We end this episode and she's still like, she's about to get out. But, like, at the end of the day, we are now through 4 episodes and we have gained like 0.0% further enhancement, forward progress of the Tiona storyline. She's still in that fucking place. And I'm like, okay, like, She beats Sister Mary with I'm assuming it was like a bar of soap in that bag or whatever, fucks her up, kills her, put the hot ruler, all that shit, cool. But, like, I'm glad that she's finally about to get up out of there, but it's still to the point of the setting of the table. Like, I didn't need a whole other episode of her getting treated like shit. So it's like, and I'm going to talk about the Tiona stuff a little bit more in a minute, because there is some parallels that I think they're trying to do here between this show and Yellowstone. But, like, I just felt like I didn't need, again, more examples. Just like I don't need to keep repeating that I needed more examples, so I'll move on. But I don't know. That's I don't know. It's just one of many examples that I've seen, especially in this episode, of them just kind of pedaling in place. Again, okay, another. Jack and Elizabeth, like they've been talking about getting married the whole fucking show, and they bring up this whole idea of like, hey, maybe they shouldn't get married, and they're like, no, we're still gonna get fucking married. So it's like, again, here we are. They're still just talking about it. They're still like they're gonna get married. They haven't gotten married. The war between the Duttons and Banner still being built up. Still ain't shit happened with it. Like they're setting up things like, you know, Kara. Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. But like I'll talk about some of that stuff. But again, like the point is, I'm ready to fucking eat now. And this episode just felt like setup. And the last one just felt like setup. So I don't like 2 consecutive setup episodes and then a break. Like, nah, like this feels like filler. Like this feels like however many episodes this ends up being, it's gonna feel like you could have knocked 2 of them bitches off. So like, I don't know. We'll see how it ends up. But this episode has me concerned now because I was concerned at the beginning of episode 3 because I'm like, we're wasting a lot of fucking time here not moving this plot forward. But then we had the elephant scene and the lions or whatever with them, and then we had the shooting scene at the end. I'm like, oh, this is really setting up some good shit. Looking forward to next week. And then next week, we just sit here, we're doing even less. This time, no, you do get 60 minutes of nothing fucking happening. And I'm like, that. And then a break, like you really did. So like, if I had known that there was gonna be a break, I'd have had even higher expectations for this episode. So it's a good thing I didn't know that. But for them to end this first 4 episodes with and have a break before the 5th one, and this is how you end it with an episode where nothing happens, like what? And I guess the cliffhanger is supposed to be that Spencer and Alex are 3 months behind the timeline of events on the ranch. Like I don't give a fuck about that. Like. You wasted 2 fucking episodes and that's where you land me and you think that's supposed to matter? Like, I don't know. I don't know. It just didn't work for me. But let's talk about what else happened in the episode. So, Banner strikes a deal with Timothy goddamn Dalton, who I didn't even know was going to be on this show. But side note, like, did that not... I felt like they should have revealed him, like... I don't know. It felt like a very underwhelming reveal. Like... I'm looking at this like, okay, who's this guy? Oh, they got Timothy fucking Dalton on this show? And they just like, I don't know, it felt like they casually just kind of like brought him out there. I don't know how you necessarily make it like a big reveal or whatever, but I don't know. It's just a little bit underwhelming. Like I feel like I'm like, am I the only person? Like I'm thinking to myself like, that is Timothy Dalton, right? Like, because I'm like, the show don't seem to give a fuck. I think it's kind of a big deal, but. His character agrees to finance Banner's attempt to take over the Yellowstone Ranch, which, I mean, we already know that's going to fail. But I'm curious about this plotline because, well, one, I'm wondering how it's not going to work because obviously it won't. But on the other side of things, I'm a little bit bothered by how this is now moving in the same narrative direction that Yellowstone needs to get out of. Like, Yellowstone is just every year the next city boys attempt to take their land. Like every fucking year, it's the same story. And that's what Yellowstone's problem is. It's too predictable. It's too tropey. It's relying on the same basic plot points, the same basic characterizations. It's not really changing at all. It's just, here's the formula, and we're just gonna do the same fucking thing again. And now this show is like, now we've got the original instance of some motherfucker trying to take my land. So it's like, I'm like, y'all, like, this is the well that we're gonna go to here. The well that Yellowstone has already, that well is already bone dry on Yellowstone. And now they're gonna try to bleed some of the who's taking my land water for this show. I don't know, man. Like that's kind of disappointing, man. Like, I mean, it's like I get it, but like what I loved about 1883 so much was the uniqueness of it and the story it told and how it's something I hadn't seen before. Whereas now I feel like this shit about to tell me the Yellowstone, the same fucking story I see on Yellowstone every fucking season. Now I get 2 running at the same time. I get it happening on Yellowstone. I get it happening here. And it's like, okay, I don't know. I feel like 1883 breathed like a life and a creativity into this universe. I can't say breathe life because it was only the second show, but like it felt like, oh, this is in the Yellowstone universe, but this is an entirely different kind of show. So then that brought me in on this. That brought me in on the 4/6 show that they're supposedly going to be doing. But now I'm like, if all these motherfuckers is going to be like Yellowstone, like, I'm done. Like, I'm good. Because Yellowstone ain't even interesting no more. So Yeah, I'm concerned about this direction. But it turns out though, here's something I was wrong about. Jake is still alive somehow. Harrison Ford's time on the show is not yet at an end, I suppose. He's still alive. Kara fills in for Jake and the livestock commissioner, and she helps to create the law enforcement branch that is essentially used to protect, protect their land, protect their cattle, all that kind of shit. And I'm assuming that this law enforcement branch that Kara creates within the livestock commission is the same law enforcement branch or whatever you want to call it that is, I think is under. I think Lee works for them in the first episode of Yellowstone, and I think Casey takes it over later. I'm assuming that's the same role. So that's kind of cool to kind of see like the creation of that role. There's also an interesting scene where we see Emma digging a grave for John, and all the other ranchers come to help her. And I can't help but wonder if this was intentionally timed to kind of thematically pair with a similar scene on Yellowstone this season that. I don't want to spoil it in case you're not caught. If you're watching this, you're not caught up on Yellowstone. But like this idea of like everybody collectively coming together to help a grieving person with a grave is something that is a connection to Yellowstone this season that they are not even sheepishly trying to hide. Like it's very much meant to be like I'm meant to be looking like, oh okay, you're doing the same thing. They also pair together actually I think another two scenes. After Tiona decides that she's done getting fucked up, she's like, all right, I want you guys to save me. And I think we all knew that she was faking it, she was going to do something. But after she decides she wants to be saved, they cut her hair and they're like cutting it off and she's screaming and crying. And I'm thinking that's meant to kind of, again, thematically kind of mirror a similar scene that happens with Monica on Yellowstone. But I know I've been pretty hard on this show over these last two episodes, but I do still enjoy the show. It's just that this one in particular really felt like filler, and I don't think this plot has progressed at all in this episode. After an additional hour of television, and just for me, that's just a massive unforced error that I personally I can't overlook that. Like that's just a huge fucking deal to me. I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know, but. I guess I'll see you guys February 5th. Hopefully it will come back. If you watch the, it will come back. I didn't finish that thought, but if you watch the preview for the second half of the season, it does look like it's going to be pretty fucking good, like the rest of it. But we'll see. So I'll see you guys on February 5th for episode 5, and until then, peace.